another episode of Your HBCU and You. Today's guest is Mr. Don Horton. Okay, Don, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello there. My name is Donald Horton. I attended Southern University from 1974, graduated in 1979. I have a lovely wife, Miss Juanita Horton, and I have a lovely daughter, Farron Horton. And I just recently had a beautiful granddaughter that was born just this past April. And Baton Rouge, right there is my home, even though I don't live there anymore, but I was born and raised, Jaguar fed and bred all the way up until this day. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
All right, then. First, I want to say congratulations on the grandbaby.
Okay, well, thank you.
So tell us why Southern University?
Well, to be honest about you, at first I was going to attend Jackson State, but being right in the Baton Rouge area and I'm gonna piggyback on a little bit what my friend Ben said. We were lucky enough to get involved in the Upward Bound program, which was right there in the Baton Rouge area. And being right there in Baton Rouge, Southern was like our backyard. We would go on the campus. We would go to games. We could go to all type of social events, and the camaraderie was so good because so many people right there in the area. And the Upward Bound program kind of opened the way for us because we was in the summer internship programs, and they gave us a lot of leeway into Southern University. So with that being said, after we graduated from high school, Southern offered us a lot more than other institutions did at that time. Remember in the 70s, it was a whole lot different. So then you had LSU right down the way, but back then, that was considered the big school and all this and that. So we say, hey, we'll go to Southern. And that's what we did. And we made a good choice.
So what was your favorite part about attending Southern?
My favorite part about attending Southern was it was the integrity and the loyalty that the school presented to us back in the 70s. Remember, we talking about in the 70s, in the middle to late 70s, when you still had a lot of segregation, you had a lot of racial issues going on, you had all kind of issues going on, but Southern always was there and always was firm, and it never faltered not one time that we went there, and that everybody showed so much concern, and there was a lot of unity and loyalty. I would say loyalty had a lot to do with it, because never once did I experience any like racism, any of these type things at Southern, even though at that time, times were really pretty hard, in the 70s, it was a lot of segregation things still going on, but Southern to this day, it stood firm, and it, like my brother Ben said, it helped molded us into who we are now today.
So what was your favorite thing to do on campus?
Oh my God. Oh boy, I don't know where to begin. That's another thing at Southern. You had so much to do. You had I would say probably socializing and just being around other great people that, being around people of your color that come from all different diverse backgrounds, because you had people from you had people from all the different towns in Texas, Louisiana, because at that time, Southern was like a major university it still is, but back then it was the major university for Black people in the South, other than, in Louisiana. So if you was in Louisiana and you went to Southern, it was like, man, that was a privilege. And one of my favorite things on that was probably just socializing and having fun. And it was the culture that had a lot to do with it, because it was something that's kind of hard to explain. The culture, you were like one big family.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your favorite facility or building on campus? Was there a favorite building that you?
I had three. I guess the Union might have been the best one, but you had the Union, you had T.T. Lane, and you had Jones Hall. Jones Hall was one of the best. I would probably say the Union,
Okay.
because that's where everybody hung out at. It was the Union of T.T. Lane. I would say the Union.
Okay. So, what was your favorite class?
My favorite class was all of my business classes, management, finance, personnel management, those type classes. Being a business major, that's what I focus on. And I also enjoyed Black history, because in the late 70s, we had some dynamic Black history instructors that, oh my God, taught us so much stuff about Black history that I remember to this day, because they taught us all the things that you're not gonna get in the regular, American history. And that went a long way. So I would say Black history was one of my favorites too. Yeah, I love that.
Who was your favorite or most influential professor?
I would say I had two. The one would probably be Mr. J. I think his name was J.T. Tucker. He was my Black history instructor, and like I say, he was more than just instructor. He was almost like back then, instructor was like father figures for you also too, because they not only instructed you, they guided you along and led you in the right direction. But I would say Mr. J.T. Tucker, he was an excellent instructor. Excellent.
Tell me about some of the things that you didn't like that much at Southern. Was there anything that you didn't like?
One of the things I didn't like, I believe it or not, I never forget this one. Probably one of the most things I hated the most about the whole experience, but it is what it is, was the registration process. Because back then it was an honor and a privilege to attend Southern University. But man, I remember those days when you went to register for school. It was like a week-long thing, man. You go, it wasn't like it is now. You could pre-register and have everything online and all this and that. Well, back then, I remember we would get up sometimes at 8 in the morning, go to the campus and try to sign up for this class. And it was a struggle just getting registered. That was really hard. It was a tedious process.
that sounds like
yes, indeed.
With HBCU.
Really? Yes, indeed. That was the hardest thing about going to school, was getting registered.
What kind of extracurricular activities were you involved in?
At Southern, I was in several little clubs, and I did a lot of tutoring. That was probably the most influential thing that I like to do. I did a lot of tutoring in American history, in Black history, because when I was in Upper Bound, Dr. Tucker I think it was Ben, my other friend, and he offered us a chance to come back and tutor in the Upper Bound program. So we did that. And then once I went on to Southern, I carried that on with me. So I would say tutoring, and I used to love to, go to games and stuff and different things around the university. You had the Greek shows and all that type of stuff. It was just so much stuff to do there. But I love the tutoring part, tutoring the incoming freshmen and things of that nature. I really did enjoy that.
Okay. So in your years of attending Southern, was there a main event that happened on campus that you still think about today, along with your friends? Y'all may still have conversations about it.
Oh yeah. That was, oh man, it was the events that I would never forget would be the homecoming. Well, they had a lot of other educational things too, but this one stood out. The homecoming week, the week of homecoming, and at Southern, I'm sure it was like that. A lot of the other HBUs too. That were like what a celebration, because back then, we would have groups. You would have groups like maids, all these Commodores, groups like that would actually come on the yard, which they call Southern the yard.
Yeah.
And they would come on the yard and give all these free shows. So that week leading up to homecoming, oh my God, that was like something that you would never be able to replace. And also the Bayou Classic which was like a national holiday in Louisiana, if you was from Louisiana, especially Southern. So those things there never go away, even to this day.
So when people find out you attended Southern University, what kind of reaction do you get?
Oh, that's a good one too. Um, this is another thing. I used to get in the early 80s when I first graduated, I would go apply for jobs and different things, and they would say, "Oh, you went to Southern." And back then a lot of the people figured that Southern, that's a small school, but once again, that's where I feel Southern grounded me at so much, is that I was around so many people that figured you had LSU, right down the way here. So that's a big major institution. So growing up in Baton Rouge, if you say LSU, you was like, oh, that's the big boy on the block. And you say Southern. So I did get a lot of negativism where people would always say, well, you went to Southern, you went to that other school. They would always say that. But in the long run, I found out that once I got out into the world, the size of the institution or what school you went to had nothing to do with it. It's how you apply yourself to what you learned while you was at that school. And so when I got out, I would tell people I went to Southern. A lot of times they were like, "Oh, I never heard of that," or they'll say, "You mean LSU or Tulane?" And I say, "No, I went to Southern." So, but once you got over that and got through that, you saw that, hey, life is a whole lot bigger than the size of the institution you went to. So I did get a lot of negative backlash, but I also got a lot of good backlash too, because once I got on different jobs, people found out that, man, what school did this guy go to? This guy, this guy carried himself very well. He's professional. We got guys went to Harvard, UCLA, and it didn't matter then as to what school you went to. So that's helped me a lot too.
So that leads me into my next question, which was, do you feel like Southern University prepared you for your career?
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely. I feel that it prepared me uh, in a way that, when we didn't come up, like, we didn't come up with that silver spoon in our mouth. We wasn't like our parents, had full blood scholarship, and you had all this, like you had LSU right down the way, and you had Southern. That was one of the things that always went on in Baton Rouge too, because you got two universities right there in the city. But LSU was always like, they got all this, they got that. But at Southern University, they prepared me to work harder to attain my goals in life, because it wasn't always a silver spoon in the mouth. And Southern provided a great leadership. It provided great cultural, it did everything for me, because sometimes when you don't have nothing, you work harder to get what you want, not having that silver spoon. And Southern was always looked at that other institution. But in the long run, you only get out what you put in.
So what was your major at Southern University?
My major was I majored in business management, and I minored in marketing with a little accounting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
here's my last question for you.
Okay.
Little small infomercial. What would you tell a student who was considering attending Southern University and was riding the fence? What would you tell that student?
They say, can you explain it again?
That
Can you?
was considering attending Southern University, but was riding the fence. What would you tell that student?
Okay, I would tell the student that I was saying that you only go get in, you go get out what you put in. And Southern University is a great place to finish to complete your career at. It's a lot to offer. They have great mentors. That's another thing I've got to say too. Southern provided great mentorship and guidance along the way. And so a young kid today, I know today you get all the kids that they look at all the big institutions and stuff, but sometimes the size of the institution doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just what you want out of life. And if you go to Southern University, it can offer you whatever you want. You can attain it, no matter what school you go to. But I figure that Southern University should never be played down, because it's it's HBU, and it's not a big LSU, UCLA, and all of that. So I would tell any young person coming today that Long as you got it in your heart to achieve and do what you want to do, you could go wherever you want to go in this world today. It's up to you, not the institution.
So when you hear the question, when you hear the term Southern University, what's the first thing come to your mind?
Oh man, when I hear Southern, the first thing that come to mind to me is cultural, unity, loyalty, tradition, integrity, and leadership. Because I feel that Southern offered all of that. It's not this, and the mentorship was good too. Where then you had, you had a lot of mentoring going on also, where teachers were more than just instructors. You had your fellow student would help tutor you in a class if you were falling short. And instructors would call you personally in the office. Things like that. That's the kind of learning that things that I got from Southern, because it was like, it's kind of hard to explain now, because school today, it's all about numbers mostly, a lot of numbers and money.
So thank you, Mr. Horton, for speaking with us today. Is there any last phrase you want to go with before we leave here?
No, I just want to say that thank you for affording me this interview, and I give great thanks to all the SU alumni, not just SU, but HBCUs throughout the United States and everywhere. And I pray that the spirit of love and integrity continue to flow throughout the HBUs, because we are a long way from being dead. We may not be a UCLA or Harvard University, but don't let that hold you back. You could be what you want to be and just keep fighting. And if you go to Southern and get that fighting spirit in you, you could go wherever you want to go.
So you say, go Jaguars, right?
Go Jag. In fact, when I went there, they used to say this. All my old alumni can remember this. They used to say the Jaguar bite is dynamite.